success is their claim to fame. On the podcast, they light the spark, elevating your skills, creating a mark. Let's dive deeper into the playbook, the secrets they share. No need to look from onboarding to retention. They've got it all. Success is the goal, gonna stand tall.
Welcome to the Customer Success Playbook Podcast. I'm your host, Roman Trebon, joined by my co-host, Kevin Metzger. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. We're at the end of Memorial Day weekend. Did you have a nice weekend?
It was a nice weekend. Weather here in Atlanta was a little iffy at times. A lot of rain we got, Kev. Very humid, but it was nice. Went out to the movies last night. Went to see Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling. Check that out. Not a bad flick. I think my wife was super into it. I think more because of Ryan Gosling than the plot. But I totally get that. I was into it because of Ryan Gosling as well. And yeah, it was a good weekend. Went to the Alpharetta Art Festival and walked around, did some shopping. So it was fun. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, we had a nice weekend as well. A bunch of graduation parties. Yeah, got to see a couple of kids. One who I've known since she was born, graduating, going to college, and she's a year older than my daughter. So it's just crazy. But good weekend. I mean, and then got to have a dinner with my mom and my in-laws today for Memorial Day. So that was nice too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Kev, this week on the episode, we're going to do the Customer Success Week in Review, right? So we've scoured the news front. We got a couple great articles that we found. And I think the first one is on LinkedIn, Kev, and it was an article. It was an article by Marcus Wrench talking about how, high performing CSMs, they go beyond just being reactive and proactive, how they've really developed into leaders. Kev, I really enjoyed this article. I think you're the one that found this. What are your thoughts, and why should our audience check this article out?
Yeah, well, and it's not just checking the article out. I mean, I think checking the articles out is great, but really the thoughts here are, you and I had a discussion last week with somebody talking about the podcast, the podcast targets leaders or CSMs. And there are topics, right, that are leader specific in the podcast in some episodes. And then a lot of the stuff is generally important to CSMs as a whole. But it was spinning in my head. And then I saw it in this article that CSMs, really the best CSMs are leaders, right? And what does that mean? So as a CSM, you got to show leadership in proactively addressing issues with your customer. You've got to show leadership in working with your customer on making sure that the products meet their needs. You've got to show leadership in working internally with your company, cross-functionally, to make sure that product is getting information from the customers, and your engineering teams are delivering on time for your customers, and all of that. And all of those things are leadership functions, right? And those are the things that, as I was really thinking about it, and I think there must have been something else that I was thinking about related to it, but the best CSMs are true leaders. It doesn't matter whether they're leading a team or whether they're acting as a CSM with a customer. They are going to act and have leadership qualities that allow them to be effective as CSMs. And that's kind of where it was going. And I think the article pulls out some certain specific points that kind of align with his thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of good points in the article, Kev. I liked it. Said leadership in CSM is, picking up customers where they are and leading them into the promised land, right? One bullet stuck out with me, and I love some of and I like the article because there's a lot of each one's like a bulleted list of things to think about. But I like that last one they had in the article, which is, eliminate every single activity that does not help customers to move forward and is not required internally, and focus on scoring the big points, right? I feel like a lot of times, Kev, you get so into doing all of these activities, all of these tasks, and it's a lot of it's noise, right? Like, is it really helping the customer, right? I love that. It's something I read it, Kev, and I actually went back. I looked at my my week ahead, and I'm like, what am I doing here? What do I have planned that's not gonna, score those points for my customer that the article talked about, which is a refreshing viewpoint, which I really like.
Yeah.
All right. The other
Great.
one, you had an article from our friend Justin Chappelle, right? Justin is in the Atlanta area. He's a speaker. He's a CX authority. And he had a video post, which I like those video posts on LinkedIn, Kev. It's like different, right? It's not an article. It's not a post. They actually have the video in there. And so Justin talks about, B2B customer experience and evolving survey methodologies and closed loop best practices. So it resonated for me, Kev. I'm in the B2B sector. I know you're in the B2B sector. So what did you hear from Justin that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think Justin was really kind of talking in a sense about the voice of the customer type stuff, and really looking at how do you interface with these B2B customers versus a B2C customer. And customer surveys is really what his point was, is not the best way to do it. The best time to interface is with the customer is in the app when they're doing their work, and there you have the opportunity to ask a directed question about what they're doing at the time, and you're keeping it to 1 to 2 questions. You're making it very short, easy for the customer to respond, and that's how you're getting your best feedback and response from the customer at the point of execution when they're doing the task that you want to get feedback.
Yeah. I think in the app is great if you can meet your customers in the app, though. I do think in the B2B world, though, a lot of times maybe your economic buyers, the people that are pulling the purse to have the budget, they may not be in the app. So you're not going to be able to hit them there, right? But I do like, right, he said, B2C customers, it's really transactional, right? So you really want to get those promoters up. But in the B2B world, for the most part, you have these clients as customers for a while, either a yearly contract or sometimes multiple years. So it's, when you do engage, it's finding those moments that matter. And then keep it short, right? We just did a survey to a couple of our B2B clients. And I think it was 2 questions. It was like, how would you rate us and why? Right. It was super short and sweet. And the feedback we got about the survey was positive. It was it was perfect. Here's why I scored. It's the score. Here's why. And that cut through all the other layers of nuance, and it gave us the insight and the actions that we needed, which that's what it all matters. That's what it matters. Right. So.
Yep. And in the end, I think the points are trying to drive, ensure that you get your response, right? So so you got to ask the right questions at the right place. I think you made a really good point. It's not always the buyer that's the one that are the app users. So you want to make sure you get the right engagement.
So the next thing in this week in review, Kev, Gainsight. I know you were out there last week, and I hope you enjoyed our show. Kevin was in St. Louis at the Pulse conference, so if you want to hear all about it, check out our episode last week. But Kev, they talked about this human first AI that Gainsight's coming out with. Give us a little background on. I think Nik presented this at the conference. What was the whole? What is the human first AI?
Yeah, so they had, I think it's 6 or 7 points, right? Eliminate blind spots, remove grunt work to make time for what matters, turn every teammate into your best teammate, make self-service not suck, transform novices into gurus, and then help customers find their work besties. Now, some of that's you kind of need to break down a little bit more. But the intention is, okay, with all of these, right? Are you taking the work out, the grunt work, the daily work? Are you making things easier for your customer? And so the daily grunt type stuff, automation of that is one of those things. That's kind of, I think, the second one I mentioned. Making self-service not suck. We all know all the voice things that we go through on a day-to-day basis still don't work quite the way you think they should as you're getting involved with all of the AI stuff. And I think It's a matter of tuning and getting some of the AI functions there. But it was an interesting thing, right? Part of it, and Roman, you and I were talking about this beforehand, and I'll kind of let you talk about it. But part of it is, what does it mean to be human first AI? And so, what are your thoughts?
Well, again, you shared this with me. I was interested in, and again, when you read the bullets and what Mr. Meta and Gainsight talk about, makes sense. Like you said, take all of the low value work. AI can do that and let humans focus on our strengths, right? Which is the high value work, right? I hear it, Kev. My first thought, and you know me, I'm not a very cynical person, but I hear that human first AI, and it's not just Gainsight. I've heard this from other companies now. They are putting human around AI, and to me, it sounds very markety, right? It's softening, I think, the blow of what AI is, or the impact AI is going to have in the workplace, right? Where it's not, I think a lot of people, there's fear about AI, and there should be, I think, a certain level of fear with AI, right? I don't think it's like end of the world's coming and, Terminator is next week, but I do think, there's people in the workforce that are worried about it. And because of this, I think a lot of companies that are now AI first are putting human first, human centric, and a lot of marketing around AI. So it doesn't feel like AI is coming to get your job. It's AI is now empowering you to do the work that's of a lot of value, empowering you to do the work that you want to do. And like you and I said, Kev, it's not one or the other. I think it both can be true. Do I feel like there's marketing with a lot of this human first AI? Absolutely. Do I think that AI can help you drive out low value work and focus on high value? Absolutely. So I think it's that very gray area, right? Like most things, it's somewhere in the middle there, right?
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, I think and actually, I think the crowd agreed, right? There were a couple of points where comments were made about AI, negative comments were made about AI, and there were cheers from the crowd. And honestly, I think it's a conference called South by Southwest, where South by Southwest is basically a conference about technology and futuristic stuff. They had the same thing happen, right? Kind of people came out and spoke about AI, and the crowd not so sure. There's definitely an impact, right? We all know it. Hopefully,
Kev, you said, real quick to interrupt, you went to a networking event here in Atlanta, I think last week, right? A local customer success coffee event. Keep me honest here. You said with 12 people there, around there in the ballpark. Over 50% in the customer success space were looking for work, right? I mean, I don't know if am I in the ballpark of numbers there?
In the ballpark. You are.
Yeah. So when you have a lot, and this isn't new. I mean, we've had people on the show who, were looking for jobs recently, right? Like, there's a lot of change in the customer success space. There's a lot of companies downsizing. There's a lot of people looking for work. So I think with that, when you have AI coming and it's you hear the reduction of work or the automation of tasks, and you don't need people that, you don't need 5 people to do the job of what AI could do. When you hear all that, it is, I totally get the reaction of the audience, right? Where it's, like,
I'll tell you,
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. And right now, I don't think it's not there yet, right? I mean, it's not AI that is, it's the economy that's got the jobs going the way they do.
No, you're right. Absolutely not.
But from a growth perspective, which we're in an election year. Election years are always tough years economically. Usually get out of an election year, you see an economy kind of tend to go up. And I think you're going to see some economic growth plummeting, regardless of what happens, just because that tends to happen from post-election years. And when you see that, I think you'll see some growth. But the question is, are you going to see the job growth come with it? Because you are going to have AI starting to really be implemented in a lot of these places. And your scale should change. The way you scale, you're not going to need as many people to scale up as much. Now, our goals, right, is to my opinion right now is preparing for this kind of economy and what's happening.
Yeah.
You need to understand what you can do with AI. You got to be thinking about how you can use it and where you can start applying it to make it, yes, to probably take away some of your daily tasks, but it's going to let you be more effective and service more customers. And then you got to be thinking about, okay, once I can automate all these tasks, what are the next set of tasks I can potentially build and create and then automate, right? So a lot of our work over the next 5-10 years, and I don't care what field you're in, I don't care what role you're in, I think is going to be looking at how do you optimize the use of AI to make the process work better. And then honestly, I think we're going to have to figure out ways to compensate people for work they did in building those processes so that they can get ongoing compensation for it. But that's beyond the scope of the show.
Yeah, that's definitely be on lots of different episodes, at least I'll say that. But it's just the world we're in, Kev, the company I'm with, we're growing, right? We're looking to scale,
Yeah.
right? And, we're not, the conversations we have aren't how do we add bodies? It's how do we do more with automate? Like same thing. How do we automate? How do we streamline processes? I mean, I think we're not unique. We're like every company in the world, all of our clients, every customer is the same way. And the reality is if a job role took 10 people 5 years ago, it's not taking that many this year, and it'll take even less 5 years now, right? It's just the reality of where we're headed. So,
but the truth is this isn't a new conversation, and it's not a new thing we've been doing for the last 40 years. Automating tasks. I mean, that's what technology has been doing for the last 40 years. So
you can go back to the Ford factory line, right? Same thing back then, right? Exactly. Same thing. All right. So Kev, that's a good transition. I don't know if it's a good transition. We're going to transition from that topic to something a little bit more optimistic, which is really human, which is all the guests you have lined up. So little sneak peek here, Kev. Who do we have targeted coming up here as we get into June, which is unbelievable. It's already June, right?
Yeah. So we've got Nik Mijik. I think I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but Nik Mijik from Matik, which I met Nik a couple of times. Now I met him at Gainsight. I met him through James. I've seen him do a demo. He has great products. And one of the things I saw Nik kind of post recently related to data and because his product takes data and uses it to put it into operational things like Moore's,
QBRs, DAX, PDF. Yeah.
Building DAX automatically and all of that. But you had a little post on data, and as part of it, you said, don't let perfection be the enemy of progress, within the scope of using your data and getting started. So I thought that was good. That reminded me of basically one of my favorite authors, which is Seth Godin. He wrote a book on that. Basically, you got to ship. You got to get your stuff moving. You got to ship. You got to deliver. So I'm excited to have Nik coming up. I think Nik's in a couple weeks. I think next week we've got Sam Cummings from DataPlant. He's basically got a leading AI solution and customer success. The idea is context times value times speed equals what he's calling digital empathy and hyper personalization. And Sam's really entertaining. I can't wait to bring you our discussion with Sam. And then after that, we've got Peter Orr from GuideCX. Roman, I know you're excited about talking with Peter because it's kind of an onboarding AI front end solution that I think Peter's talking about with GuideCX.
I'm excited about all of them, to be honest. Like I'm excited to this is like the best of both worlds, right? We get to meet all these folks. We get to learn all about this software, right? And it's amazing. Like just going back to Matik real quick, there's nothing I do not like less, I think, than putting PowerPoints together, Kev. Like when I have to putting PowerPoint together, I'm just terrible at it. Like my vision of what I want and what actually, like whatever I actually put on a slide is they couldn't be more contrasted, right? Like imagine like this in my head, I want the slide to be like a Picasso. And then when I put a slide together, it looks like stick figures, right? I just never get it, right? And if we can audit, if Nik has a tool and Matik has a tool that can like use actual customer data and help build, whatever it is, data sheets, PDFs, insert slides in the QVRs. I mean, that's a lot of going back to, we talk about the low value work. Like think about all that time people spend on PowerPoints. You know what I mean? Like just, I mean, you can, get rid of that and focus on actually, understanding the results, analyzing the results, coming up with solutions. That's the value. Like, so I'm excited about that. And then, you had mentioned, obviously DataPlant again, kind of goes into, using data again. And I know they have a lot around revenue too, Kev, which I'm really interested around, like, revenue growth and revenue operations. So I'm excited to have that conversation. And then, for sure on GuideCX, right? That goes in since our conversation with Donna on onboarding. And so, at my organization, we've actually incorporated a lot of the process that Donna, she had her orchestrated onboarding, right? So we've actually incorporated a client handoff into our process, which we didn't have before we had Donna on the show. And so again, now that there's tools that can actually do some of this onboarding automation and make that a little easier. Yeah, I mean, probably a conversation, Kev, I would have had just at work. So if we could have it on the show, it kills a couple birds with one stone, which is great.
Yeah, and I think some of the other value of the tool that Peter had is I think it does a good job of really, if I remember correctly, helping share information between the sales team and the CSM.
That's
services and the CSM teams as well, which I think, definitely has been in most companies at one point in time an issue. And it's something that you've got to figure out how to address. If there's a tool to help address it, all the better. Generally, I don't think it's just a tool issue. I think it's also, making sure to understand how to address the politics within the office to make sure that those conversations happen and are more open, and that you're having those the open conversations between sales, onboarding, the CS teams, and all of that. Those are important conversations to have regardless of the tool, but maybe we'll get into
absolutely
later a little bit too.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. So you've knocked it out of the ballpark, Kevin, from St. Louis. You've lined up a ton of guests. So, and that's only who we have confirmed. We actually have a whole bucket of guests that we're not going to share quite yet. They're not quite ready for prime time, but we're close to locking in, securing even more guests as we get into the human depths of summer here, down here in Atlanta. But no, excited, Kev, for who we have upcoming. And then we have a big event Friday, May 31st in Atlanta. So we have our Atlanta Customer Success Playbook Pickleball game coming this Friday, Kev. So took a look at weather. It looks supposed to be nice Friday afternoon. So if you're in the Atlanta area, want to come out and play some pickleball or just hang out, come out. We'll have some drinks, some snacks, some great networking, and come out and join us. We'll be up in the Roswell area.
Yeah, and we'll rotate people through, and don't worry about how good you are. We want to get out there. We want to have fun and get a little exercise in, and
that's right.
Get some networking in. That's what it's all about. Hope you can join us.
That's right. We won't start playing for money until next time out. So you got to,
That's right.
Kidding. All right, Kev. Well, another great week in review when it comes to customer success. Some great articles. We'll put them in our show. So if you want to go check those articles out, anything we reference, they'll be in the show notes. So you can click on them, read them. Check us out on LinkedIn. I'm at Roman Trebon. Kevin is at Kevin Metzger. We have our own Customer Success Playbook LinkedIn page as well. You can also find us at customersuccessplaybook.ai. Kevin, anything else I missed?
Just keep on playing.
Strategies and tactics that you can use, from challenges to triumphs, they cover it all, helping you navigate when you hit a wall. So tune in now and join the quest. You'll be the best.